Function with Purpose podcast. All things health, wellness, fitness, and education through the physical therapy perspective. I am Dr. Amy Bullock, owner and founder of Fortress Physical Therapy. Fortress PT is here to serve the Charlotte metro area by highlighting the importance of how and why physical therapy should be a part of your health and wellness lifestyle. Here we go. Welcome to Season 6, Episode 1 of the Function with Purpose podcast. Dr. Amy here with you guys today. Season 6. Oh my gosh, I'm coming up on year 2 of recording podcasts. It's getting pretty close. Season 6 is going to be a lot of variety going on here with some topics I have marked down on my list. But Episode 1, I want to talk about my experience with COVID fog or COVID brain. I never really thought it was a thing. But yeah, I went through, at the time this is coming out, hopefully I'll be 100% completely out of it, but, right now, as I'm recording, I am still experiencing some of these COVID brain or COVID fog symptoms. So I just want to share my symptoms that I experienced and what some habits I kind of instilled to help mitigate that and hopefully return to baseline. So yeah, I'll give you guys probably an update later on in the year or the beginning of the new year. To see if especially my Whoop band metrics have returned to baseline. But, okay, as far as timeline, so I tested positive for COVID back in May 2022. Luckily, my symptoms weren't super severe or anything. I can link that episode that I spoke about my COVID experience in the comments below, so be sure to take a listen at that. But I would say about 1 month post my COVID exposure, so maybe around the end of June, I kind of started experiencing this COVID fog or COVID brain. So some things that I did partake in and experience were the actual brain fog. So I had difficulty recalling short-term memory details. So a prime example is honestly, perhaps I was supposed to write down a note on a sticky note on something that I heard or something that a patient told me, or maybe it was something I was tracking with a patient. Sometimes I'll take sticky notes, totally forget to do that at that moment. As well as even literally what I ate the night before for dinner. That's how short-term memory fog I had. Also, I do recall that when I was typing on the computer, I do work on the computer a lot, or at least in between my patients. And I work a lot on the computer on Thursdays because I do my business administrative work. My ability to type notes on the actual computer was completely skewed. I could be thinking of a word. Let's see, for example, like cost or coast, C-O-A-S-T. I would literally type it out as cost, C-O-S-T, and thought that was how you spelled the word coast. So my ability to really type out words or spelling of words was skewed as well. Also, another thing too, so I coach CrossFit classes 2 times out of the week, and I'll warm up the class. Sometimes I'll make up my own warm-ups, or I'll go what is structured on Wodify on the blackboard, and I'm trying to articulate that word or a specific word that I was thinking of, and I couldn't verbalize it. I literally had to stop in my tracks and like stand there, put my hand on my face and like think, that thinking posture. And again, that goes to short-term memory details and a little bit of tapping into long-term memory details too. Um, Literally by midday of every day, my brain was like just exhausted. It was tired. It didn't hurt. I didn't have a headache or anything like that, but I was just like tired of thinking, tired of trying to recall these short-term events that happened all morning leading up to midday. So then that kind of led to more naps throughout the day, specifically at the midday portion after lunch. Um, and another thing that I have noticed, yes, I'm going to throw out some TMI stuff, is my changes in my menstrual cycle. I typically never get menstrual cramps or low back pain or even changes in appetite. But I did experience a lot more unusual or uncalled for cramping in the lower pelvis area, some low back pain, stiffness, that typical menstrual cycle symptoms that those ladies out there you can probably relate to. Um, and some changes in appetite too. Like I would get fuller faster, and then I would feel very extremely bloated. Not even if I was even on my menstrual cycle or not. So I experienced a lot of like GI distress and bloatedness. But I didn't really I didn't experience any like musculoskeletal pain or discomfort. Not anything abnormal than some typical like morning stiffness that I usually get anyways. But once I start moving, I'm fine. Um, Another thing too is like my breathing patterns. I would have to take like deeper breaths to get in more air into my body. Um, so this kind of leads into the Whoop band. So I've been using the Whoop band now at this moment in time for 1 year, and have noticed some changes in my baseline metrics. So my resting heart rate was pre-COVID typically between the low 40s and mid 40 range. But I probably averaged maybe about like 44, 45 beats per minute. And since this post COVID brain fog, my increase has actually averaged out to the lower 50s or high 40 ranges for my resting heart rate. Additionally, my respiratory rate, my average breaths per minute went from 14 to 15. Now that's not like a super jump, but again, COVID affects the central nervous system, right? So respiratory rate, resting heart rate, and then obviously the heart rate variability status all become affected. So getting into the heart rate variability, pre-COVID exposure, my average was somewhere between the 80s and 90s. And now that actually has decreased as far as tracking my metrics for the heart rate variability. So now they've been averaging between the 70 and 80 ranges. So it's very interesting to see that. So at this moment of recording, it is the month of August. You guys won't hear this probably till like November, but so May, so June, July, so literally still 3 months post exposure. My metrics for my Whoop band are still at this new altered level. Those metrics that I just pointed out to you guys. So it's just another point to track, and hopefully this will stabilize and go back to baseline towards the fall time in winter. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. So that kind of gives you a general spiel of my experience with this like post-COVID fog or COVID brain. So some changes and some ability to seek some balance in this, and some daily habits I started to incorporate. probably about a month post-exposure or post brain fog, really, was supplementing with a multivitamin that had omega-3 within it. Again, these changes in my behavior in incorporating these habits was probably about 1 month post realizing and experiencing this brain fog. So I started supplementing with a multivitamin and omega-3. I still would take midday naps, but maybe somewhere between that 30 and 45 minute mark rather than 45 and 60 minute mark. I also increased my non-thermal exercise routine, i.e. walking, after dinner time. I feel like that has been helping and instilling that pattern at least 5 times out of the week. Getting more sun exposure, whether it's in the morning, midday, or evening. Reading an actual physical book, right? So like training my brain rather than staring at a computer. I've been reading books a little bit more. So, the coordination and the thought process of reading to help retrain my nervous system a little more. And 2 other things I do want to point on is I take electrolytes. I'm not sponsored, but I really like the Liquid IV Hydrator Plus, or I don't remember which one it is, but I would typically drink those after work, but now I switched it to midday, kind of like in between lunch and heading back into work, so maybe around that 2 or 3 p.m. range. And then also tapping into, lastly, diaphragm breathing patterns. So I've definitely developed the habit after my training routine in the morning, where I exercise. I make it a habit and make it non-negotiable that I have to do some type of stretching after and do 3 minutes of diaphragm breathing to help calm my central nervous system, or autonomic nervous system, my fight or flight response. So a very quick spiel of my COVID fog symptoms and some habits and changes I instilled in my daily routine. Again, hopefully in the next couple months, things will probably go back to a little bit more towards my normal baseline, but I will definitely keep you guys posted on that. So, yeah. But COVID fog's totally a thing. I'm living proof of it. But just wanted to share the insight and the symptoms that I was experiencing, as well as some changes in my behavior to help mitigate those symptoms and recover a little faster. Again, if you didn't listen to my previous podcast on when I got COVID back in May, I'll drop that podcast episode in the comments below. But as a healthcare provider, if you are experiencing something like this and something just feels completely off, you need to seek out your primary care physician, your medical doctor, your nurse practitioner, or your doctor of osteopathy. They will help guide you. I'm very blessed and lucky that I did not have severe symptoms or reactions. So again, I am not advising anyone to do anything that I did. If you feel off, you need to go seek some medical help. Just wanted to throw in that disclaimer. Other than that, that's a wrap for today's episode, Function with Purpose podcast. For more information on this episode, please check out the show notes within your podcast app. Be sure to subscribe, like, share, or drop your comments and questions below. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Thanks for the listen. Pursuit, precision, purpose.